So I put this movie on, put it on repeat, went to sleep. When I woke up, I had EMTs all over. There was like 5 or 6 EMTs. They're looking down on me. I couldn't move. They said, Corey, don't try to talk. Don't try to move. You just had an alcohol-induced seizure.
Oh my goodness.
My mom said I was mumbling like crazy. She couldn't understand a word I was saying. I couldn't hardly move. But she said to me, son, you need to go to rehab. And I said in my mumbledness, I don't need rehab. I'm fine.
Sitting there
in a hospital, having an alcohol-induced seizure at 21 years old, drinking 2 fists of vodka a day, telling my mom I don't need help, I'm fine.
Welcome to Recovery Cast, the podcast where we share authentic stories from influential voices about the joys of life in mental health and addiction recovery, and the journeys that led us here. I'm Brittany Baynard, and today we're joined by Corey Warren, one of the most genuine and kind-hearted voices in recovery. After surviving addiction, prison, and relapse, he turned his pain into purpose by founding Rise Recovery Community. His honesty, humility, and deep compassion remind us that helping others is at the heart of what real recovery looks like. Here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Recovery Cast. We are joined today by Corey Warren, content creator, owner of Rise Recovery Community. Thank you so much for joining us today. Super excited to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's going to be a super joyous day because I feel like that is what your content always shows. Absolute joy, connection, recovery. I love that. Yeah. And we're going to dive right into that. But before we do, if somebody could take something away from your story, what would that be?
Just never giving up.
Mm-hmm.
I've had so many slips, so many relapses, so many issues along the way. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people think that when you get in this recovery process, put a couple months, a year behind you and life just smooths out and everything's good. And that is so far from true. Yeah. Life still happens. We just got to figure out how to do it without always putting substances on top of it. Absolutely. So I think just never giving up and keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That's wonderful. That's great. So diving into it. So what was your first experience with alcohol? How old were you?
Well, my story actually doesn't start with alcohol. My story actually starts with heroin. Weird as that may be.
Yeah,
I don't
bigger
talk a lot about that on social media. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's kind of niched out to what it is that my social media is pointing to. But in high school, and this is 2006, 2005, heroin was a big deal. It was all over my high school. Mm-hmm. It seems like a lot of us were using it. It wasn't what you see today. It wasn't killing people like that. So it wasn't like there was this huge overdose problem.
People could actively use it.
We could use it, and we'd go to class and we'd go do our thing. And that was my first experience, was really into drugs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even about the drug itself. It was about, I was so, how do I say this? I was so lost internally. I didn't know who I was. I just wanted to fit in somewhere. I wanted somewhere to belong. I wanted people to like me, because if you like me, then I like me.
Oh my gosh.
And if you don't like me, then I don't like me. How I valued myself was completely how you felt.
There's like no self-esteem at that age. Not. It's like other people's validation is what builds that up for you.
Yeah. And
that's tough.
So it was smoking weed. It was popping pills. It was into hard drugs, because if they're doing it, and I need their validation, then I'm just going to follow suit and do it. And I tell a lot of people, it's not peer pressure. They never peer pressured me to do it. They weren't like, Corey, come on, you got to try this.
Yeah.
It was like, I wanted to. Yeah. I wanted to go try it, because if I did try it, then you would think I was cool. And if you think I'm cool, then I feel better about myself. And I'll go a step further. I came from a great upbringing with my mom. She did a fantastic job. So we had some money growing up, and then I would go buy the drugs and I'd take the drugs to my friends.
She's a cool kid.
And then it was like, whoa, everything is so much better when Corey shows up. I'm bringing Corey to every party, everything. So man, like that's how everything started.
Was this the same group of friends like you had always grown up with? Like you had like friends and stuff when you're little?
Some of them for the,
Was it new people when it got to high school? Or?
I think a couple people were new, but a couple childhood friends. But that's kind of how it all started in high school. And I ended up getting kicked out of high school about 3 months before I was supposed to graduate. I got put in rehab. Didn't really figure it out. I got out of rehab, went right back to using heroin.
How long were you in there for?
3 months. I was in there when I was 17.
Yeah.
Turned 18 in rehab. And of course, when I turned 18, I was like,
peace out. Bye.
I'm out.
Smoke
I don't
trails.
need to be here.
Yep.
Exactly. So And I went right back to, and a lot of people say, well, you went back to the drugs. No, I didn't go back to the drugs. I went back to the friends because that's what I was craving. I was craving the friends. I wasn't craving the drug. I had 3 months in rehab. I wasn't dependent on heroin at that point, but I was dependent on my friends because they made me feel better.
Yeah.
So my friends were using heroin. I want to go be around them. So now I'm out of rehab, going back on my friends, in turn, going back to using drugs again. So that's how it all kind of started. I ended up going to jail. I got arrested for committing an armed robbery to just get more money to be able to buy more drugs.
How old are you at this time?
I was 18 years old.
18 years old.
And it was the wildest thing. I don't have a violent bone in my body. I didn't do it in some sort of nasty way, but I needed drugs. And
addiction
I remember
makes people do things that, you just didn't think was even in you.
I remember laying in the back of the truck bed. I ran away from that place and I was laying in the back of the truck bed and there was police everywhere. And that was like my first time. I was like, okay, God, get me out of this. If you can get me out of this,
that had to have been an overwhelming feeling.
And I remember opening my eyes. I was laying down in the back of a truck bed and I opened up my eyes and all I heard was freeze. And the sheriff's department was surrounding my truck. They pulled me out, arrested me, took me to jail. I was 18 years old. They put me in the cement box and these fluorescent lights were going over top of me. And I'd never been to jail before. And it was concrete everywhere. And I was so scared. And they shut that door and I heard that key turn over. And as that key turned over and locked, it was like, I don't know if there was like a microphone on this key or what the case was, but man,
why was that so amplified?
It was so loud when that key turned over. And I was so scared. And I went in front of the judge the next day and I was shackled up. My mom was in the courtroom and the judge says, Mr. Warren, you're facing 5 to 15 years in prison. And my heart just sank. Felt like my life was over. Now, obviously I'm here, so I didn't go to prison for that long, but I did do quite a bit of time in jail. Went to rehab on the back end of that. But I made a point to myself when I was getting out of rehab after jail. And I said, I'm never going back to drugs because drugs are the problem. Drugs are my issue. And if I could just get drugs out of my life, then everything's going to be okay. So I made a point, no more drugs. And I followed through on that. I never went back to using drugs. And everyone's like, yeah, that's so great. But drugs were never the problem. I was the problem. I was the one that decided that drugs were a good idea. Drugs didn't come knocking on my door saying, you want to go hang out today? So I had to figure out what the problem was. So not knowing that at 19, 20 years old, as long as drugs are not in my picture, then I'm good. So then I got my GED. I think it was my GED. And then I went to college and I was in college. And I realized as I was going to these parties on campus at Michigan State University, I realized, check this out. If I bring a case of beer and I bring a fifth of vodka to the party, then everybody
it's that same feeling.
Is so happy to see me. It was the same as when I was feeling that drugs. I'm getting the same reward that I was with heroin, but now I'm doing it with alcohol. And mom thinks it's okay because as long as Corey's not using drugs, then I'm fine. So I just found a way to get exactly what I wanted.
Transferred it
with making sure that drugs don't come back into my life. And that's where alcohol entered in. It was a fraction of the cost. It was socially acceptable.
You thought you were winning with this one.
Nobody thought it was a problem because at least Corey's not using heroin.
And everybody around you at school is probably doing the same thing.
Everybody. What? I mean, my family is doing it. It's such a normalized thing. I mean, alcohol is just so prevalent in society and it's so acceptable and it's all over the TV and it's in every commercial and it's in all the social media. I mean, it's unbelievable. So yeah, it was never about drugs. It was about me trying to find validation.
When did you find that part out though?
Wow, years later.
Yeah. When you were in prison or jail?
I went to jail for, it was just over 14 months and I went to rehab.
Gotcha. So that was your second experience in a treatment facility. The first one was prior to jail.
Second or third.
Yeah. During that time there, were you ever like, okay, I'm going to listen? Or were you kind of just like, I'm here to be here because of something?
No, I think at that point, you still don't even really know that you have a problem.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like, it's the drugs.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to really look at myself because I'm 18 and no 18-year-old kid wants to look at themselves.
Yeah. And it's hard. Like, I mean, we don't have at that age, like a lot of people to like reflect on these thoughts that we're having. You already feel super alone when you're having them. It's isolating when you get into trouble because that usually happens by yourself too. And then like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, no, 100%. And so and my dad's an alcoholic. My dad lives in a nursing home now for people with dementia. He's got alcohol-induced dementia. My wife and I go pay all of his bills, do everything that we can for him as far as like financially taking care of him. He was never really around when I was growing up, but he was always drinking and womanizing and all these things. So that's what I grew up in. So again, going into that like early college life, it was like, I don't need to look at my behavior. It's not my behavior. It's not who I am. I don't even know how to go internal. Like, how do you look at yourself from a deep level at 18 years old?
Well, also I'm like doing these things to not have to look internal because there's shit that just hurts. So like that's counterintuitive to what I'm doing. I'm trying to find
a girlfriend at that point. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to drink beer and get a girlfriend. That's pretty much it. So yeah. So then it turned into alcohol, and that was when I was 20 years old. By the time I was 21 years old, I was drinking 2 fists of vodka every single day.
What effect on your body did that have?
So I had a doctor. The long story short of it all, I was living in this apartment. It got really bad to the point that I could physically see the signs. My skin was kind of turning yellow. I could feel like my kidneys, my liver, I could feel my body kind of shutting down. And I knew if I kept drinking like that, something bad was going to happen. Oh, wow. I did know that much. But again, alcohol is the problem now. Drugs are the problem then. Alcohol is the problem now. So as long as I can quit alcohol, then I'm going to be good. So I decided to turn a movie on. And I go to high schools all over the state of Michigan and talk to kids. And I tell them all the time, I went in the living room. I pulled the mattress out of the bedroom, put it in the living room. And I went to the DVD cabinet because we had DVDs back then. When I talk to these students, I'm like, I went to the DVD cabinet. They're like, the what?
Pull out the archive wheel and out like,
dang, oh my gosh, tell me I'm old without telling me I'm old. So, but I pulled out Finding Nemo. I put it in the DVD player. It's one of the best choices I could have done. And I thought to myself, I'm going to put this movie on. I'm going to put it on repeat. I'm going to fall asleep. When I wake up, I'm never going to drink again because alcohol is my problem. Drugs are my problem then. Alcohol is my problem now. If I could just get alcohol out of my life, everything's going to be okay. So I put this movie on, put it on repeat, went to sleep. When I woke up, I had EMTs all over. There was like 5 or 6 EMTs. They're looking down on me. I couldn't move. They said, Corey, don't try to talk. Don't try to move. You just had an alcohol-induced seizure.
Oh my goodness.
I went to the hospital and I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to walk or talk again. My mom said I was mumbling like crazy. She couldn't understand a word I was saying. I couldn't hardly move. But she said to me, son, you need to go to rehab. And I said in my mumbledness, I don't need rehab. I'm fine.
Sitting there
in a hospital, having an alcohol-induced seizure at 21 years old, drinking 2 fists of vodka a day, telling my mom I don't need help. I'm fine. That's the stronghold that substances in general, but let alone alcohol, has on somebody. It's really hard to say, I know I use a little bit of cocaine. I know I use a little bit of heroin, but I don't have a problem. That's an awkward statement to make, but it's so easy with alcohol. Yeah. Because again, it's so normalized. It's so social. It's so acceptable.
Like it's very ageist as well. I remember sitting in a room during a group session and thinking to myself, like, I mean, that's not a large amount to drink, but then there's this older gentleman across from me. And just in that moment thinking like, if I knew that that's the amount he drank, I'd be like, oh, lush. Like, and then there's me being judgy as hell when really it's just like, what's the difference? Yeah. Like, what was the difference there? Absolutely nothing. I'm just young and think I can do it because I'm young.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Exactly. I make that excuse for myself. Yeah.
So that was where, and I ended up in the hospital. I was sitting there. I ended up getting my speech back, my movement back. Yeah, I went back to rehab again. This was to a place in Brighton, Michigan. It was 14 days long. I used to think you needed 6 months in treatment. I needed 3 months in treatment. No, this was 14 days, and that's where my life changed. In 14 days, 12 days, 14 days, something like that. It was the same rehab that Eminem went to. Oddly enough, I figured if he could do it, I could probably do it, right? So when I saw his name, he wrote his name in one of the smoking sheds where he used to smoke cigarettes.
Smoking sheds.
So I went there, and that was the first time I had a therapist come to me and said, Corey, alcohol is not the problem. Corey, drugs are not the problem. Corey, you're the problem. And that was a tough pill to swallow. What do you mean I'm the problem? I don't come from like some terrible childhood.
I haven't done anything.
Yeah, like people like I'm not living under a bridge. I don't have needles sticking out of my arm. I'm not that bad. I'm just a young kid who just took a couple wrong turns. But I really had to look at me and what was going on with me. So this was a process. It wasn't something I learned in 14 days. It took years to figure that out. But what I did do is I got out of that rehab. My mom wasn't letting me back home. So I went and lived with my dad, the alcoholic. And every morning at 6 a.m., he'd wake up. I'd be sleeping in the living room and he'd crack a beer and I'd hear it every single morning and it would drive me nuts. And I had to get out of there. So I'd get out of there and then I'd go to a meeting. I'd ride the bus over here. I'd ride the bus to all these different meetings. I'd go to, if you're familiar with Alcoholics Anonymous, I went to the central AA office back in Lansing, Michigan, and I would volunteer time just doing anything I could to be around people who didn't want to drink. I didn't know how not to drink, but you've somehow strung together some time. So if I can just get it by osmosis now, I'll be okay. So I just hung out with all these people who somehow looked or appeared like they had a happy life. They were smiling. They had joy. They had some of the things that I wanted. I didn't know how to get it. So I just put myself around them. I'm going to start there and I'll pick it up as I go. So that was kind of my first experience with like actually starting to learn about myself. From there, it was just caught fire and ran as fast as I could.
Yeah.
But
what
that's
about
really,
being with those people made you feel like this is the right choice? Because I agree. I think surrounding yourself with the people that have those same goals and have been there is extremely great. But what were you picking up from those people those first few months that really, really helped you?
It was two things. It was a sense of peace that they had that I really wanted. My life had been chaos for 5 years. I just wanted peace. I wanted calmness. So they had that. And then I think they had fellowship, right? So they had like this community, this like, they call each other brothers and sisters and they supported one another. And isn't that what I was looking for the whole time?
Yeah, unconditional.
I was looking for that validation in high school. I was looking for that validation in college. And now I'm seeing that they have this group that seems to have that and they really care about each other. I was 22 years old at the time. And after a meeting, they said, Corey, you want to go out to dinner and go bowling? And it was a guy, he had to have been early 60s, something like that. Go out to dinner and go bowling. And I'm like, dude, I don't even like to bowl when I'm drunk, let alone bowl when I'm sober.
We're trying this sober thing. Please don't
But
push
okay.
me.
I mean, I suppose if you're happy and you have peace and you have joy and you found it through bowling, I will try. Right. So I went bowling. And it was some of the first like heartfelt like those really like gut laughs, where it's just like you can't stop laughing. And it was like one of the first experiences I had with like genuine like happiness almost and just full of laughter. And I'm terrible. I suck at bowling, but I had the time of my life with a bunch of people that were 3 times my age. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't wrap my head around how am I so happy being around these people. And what I realized is that we all have one thing in common. It doesn't matter about our age, doesn't matter about our skin color, doesn't matter about where we come from, what our background is, what drugs, how much we drank. We all just don't want to drink. That's the common theme that holds all of us together is we just don't want to drink.
Yeah.
And it made all the difference in the world. That was really where I found my belonging at first in my recovery path.
That's awesome. I do want to go back for a second when you were talking about some of the things your body was experiencing and you said you were picking up on signs. Were there other signs other than physical that you're like, this isn't okay? Were you still functioning like work wise or like?
Well, no, not towards the end.
Okay.
No, because you have to, I was drunk by 10 o'clock in the morning. So there's obviously your life's just tanking in all areas. So there's that's hard not to see. You're putting distance between the people that really care about you. You're spending time with the wrong people. You're getting into really sticky situations, drinking and driving, being places you shouldn't be, just doing things that are against your character and justifying that it's okay.
Yeah.
So I think some of that, along with a lot of the physical signs that come from it, just kind of package it up to say, well, something's not right.
You're hanging out with people that also have that common goal of staying sober. You spent 12 days in a treatment facility, or 12 or 14 days in a treatment facility. What tools did you pick up on there that helped you like stay sober?
I'm going to get a little controversial.
Okay.
None.
Okay.
None. I didn't really learn. Okay. This is just my story.
No, yeah. Everybody's got their own stuff.
Different.
Yep, everybody is different.
And I'm not trying to turn anybody. Treatment is one of the best things that I think anybody can do for themselves when you're actively using.
Yep.
Because it breaks the cycle. That is what I believe. You need to break the cycle. You need to stop, because left to my own, just trying to wake up and not drink, it's not happening. I need to be put away somewhere.
Yeah.
Get me away from alcohol, get me away from drugs. But as far as like learning tools, like I'm in such a haze. I'm in a fog. There's no way I'm absorbing and retaining any of the information that you're telling me right now. I'm going through the motions. I'm trying to chew on handfuls of nicotine gum. I'm popping so many pills that these places are giving me to try to not go into another seizure. I can hardly eat. I'm trying to figure out how to even shower without, it's just to retain information on how to live my life after there. It's not happening.
Yeah.
It's what we do outside. When we leave there, I say that's when the rubber meets the road. That's when you start to, in a confined area, we do great. When we are out in the real world, that's a whole different ball game. And so that's where in 2014, I had this idea because recovery housing was never a thing. I mean, there was a couple of them, but there was never like a very well-known thing. But I realized like there's this huge problem with what do I do when I leave treatment? When I actually need to learn stuff. So that was when we opened up Rise in early 2015. We now have over 70 beds.
That's amazing.
Men and women we just opened up an apartment complex for long-term sober living. They can stay there for years if they want. Just affordable stuff that people can live in community with other people in recovery, because I think that's when you start to learn like the tools when you're actually out in the world and you're working with, whether it be a therapist, a friend, a sponsor, a recovery coach. I don't care who it is that you're working with. Work with somebody though.
Yeah.
But I went down to the bus station. This guy's got a bag of dope. Or this guy's got, I'm seeing these shooter bottles laying all over the place, and I'm really triggered. Now, what do I do? That's when you learn. That's when I learned is, okay, so now I got to call somebody. Hey, buddy, I'm feeling really, I'm craving. I'm triggered, all these different things. What do I do? I start to put that into motion in my daily life. And that's kind of that's when the learning process and starting to understand how to cope and how to deal with life on life's terms. But I never learned any of that in a treatment facility. In fact, if it were left to me, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, I'm just an uneducated guy. So don't take my words for nothing more than that. But I don't find value in much more than 30 days of rehab. I just don't. I think that you got to get on the streets. You can't be sheltered for that long, or else it becomes custom. It becomes too comfortable, and then it's too much of a shock when you leave. So I'm a big fan of quick treatment. Go there, break the cycle, clean up, get your detox done with, and go hit the street. Go to recovery housing, outpatient meetings, do whatever you need to do after rehab, because that's what really matters to me. Being cooped up in a rehab for 6 months makes no sense.
Figure out how to incorporate your life, this new life that you're going to be living into your surroundings and the life that you want to have. So we've got Rise Recovery Community. Okay.
That came on the scene.
Yes.
In 2014. I'm going to get it wrong. 14 or 15. And we started with this little apartment. My mom was working as the chief financial administrative officer for a major manufacturing company. I mean, multi-million dollar manufacturer. She was doing great for herself. She's a saint. She's a great woman.
Moms are the best.
The best. So I was like, hey, mom, I want to open this recovery house. I had like 4 people living in my apartment, all that just came out of rehab. I'm like, come over to my house. Come stay with me. Come stay with me. And all of a sudden I'm like, you guys got to get the heck out of here. Like this place
signed up for it,
Like it's terrible. So I had a bunch of people living. I found a little apartment that had a little commercial building underneath it. It was like a studio up top, not a studio, but like an apartment building up top, commercial building down beneath. And it was like 120,000. And I was like, Mom, can you help me buy this? I want to buy it. I want to fill it. I want to open up a little clubhouse with like meeting rooms and like coffee and snacks and like a TV. And so somehow or another, she believed in me. She ended up helping me out with that purchase. We put 4 people upstairs, and it was so funny because we had these speakers, the Sonos speakers. You know what those are? It was like old school Sonos speakers, like the little wireless speakers.
Okay, yeah.
We put them up in like 2 different corners, and we took an iPad and we mounted it to the wall so you could like play music. You couldn't tell me anything at that point.
MacGyvered surround
I was just like, we have made it.
You guys were doing it.
We had
Mom, I want to make a hangout spot for me and my sober homies.
It was so cool. It was like the best thing ever. And then people just started pouring in within like 60 days, we opened up 3 more houses.
Holy cow.
Within a year, we opened up like 9 houses.
Wow.
And they were just full. We ended up getting one of the first recovery contracts with the regional PAHP, which is our Medicaid distributor in Michigan. We got one of the first recovery housing contracts that they've ever given, if not the first recovery housing contract. So we piloted that whole, now there's tons of them that have contracts, which is super cool. But we got a new clubhouse. We have a 3,000 square foot clubhouse that it's just pool tables and TVs. We built a bar, but it's a sober bar.
Nice.
So it's like a place you can go and like, you got a bartender sort of guy sitting there and he's feeding you your pop or your coffee, popcorn, whatever, watching TV, hanging out, playing pool. You got group rooms. Like I said, we have over 70 people just in programming. We have, I think, 3 or 4 houses outside of that are for like self-pay people. And then we have an apartment complex that is long-term for individuals. So we started kind of doing that. And that has been just really successful. My mom quit her job 2 years after we started and came over full time. So now she's the executive director for our company,
her queen,
which is so awesome. So I get to, hang out with her most days of the week. And it's one of those things where we drive each other crazy, but we wouldn't want to have it any other way.
Right, yeah.
It's so cool working with your mom, but also like so annoying. I'm sure she'll watch this and love that, but she's the best. I mean, she really took a gamble on us. It was like me and a bunch of other alcoholics and we're like, can you start a business with us? And she's like,
why not?
Okay, here we go.
Love that.
So she really paved it, and all the success that we've had, I really give her a ton of credit. She's just excellent. So we started doing that. And then we started this thing called Straight Talk, which is we go around to high schools, middle schools, all over, and we just hang out with the kids and we just talk to them about like real life, not like, hey, drugs are bad, don't drink, don't use drugs, but it's like, this is what I went through. I'm going to tell you my story. If you can connect with it, then great. And we've had a ton of success with that. We just, I think we have like 40 coming up in this next year.
That's awesome. It's so needed. It's really needed.
Trying to hit the prevention on the front end of things. So this is all through the first like 10 years of my recovery. This is going on 9 years of my recovery or whatever. In 2000 and I'm going to get it wrong, but I want to say 16 or something like that. We moved the clubhouse over for Rise and I opened up a tattoo shop in that little building. So I was like, why not? I love tattoos. I should get free tattoos. Like, this is going to be cool. So I opened up a tattoo shop. The tattoo shop exploded. We moved that building down the street a little bit into a beautiful, we still have, it's our 10-year anniversary coming up. But
congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, our tattoo shop. My wife actually manages the tattoo shop. She opened up a salon a couple years back. So she does her salon thing with all her girls. And I stay out of the way for the most part. Good. She just holds it down and does her thing. But that's been really successful. Since I got sober, I was able to start. I mean, we've done construction companies, we've done landscaping companies. We've been all over the place and doing all these different things. I've been able to chase so many dreams. And in doing so, I was so successful. And I don't say that from an egotistical standpoint. I say that because this is where my downfall came. I was so successful. Now, everything that I did to begin my recovery process, all the meetings, the fellowship, all that started to back burner. Because business was front on my mind. I got married to my wife in 2019. And in 2017, my daughter was born. In 2020, my wife and I had a son. In 2019, we also bought our first house. We were rocking from a financial standpoint. We were doing great. We were improving our home. We had 2 nice vehicles. I just bought a boat. We were, I mean, this is where the problem comes in. I really thought like side by sides, 4-wheelers. I mean, you name it, we had everything. At that level in my life, I thought I had made it. I wasn't going to meetings anymore. I started to become distant with the recovery side of my business, and I was very money driven. How does this business make more money? How do I make more money? My goals were completely monetary. My clothing started, everything, you name it, it just started to look flashy. It started to become something that I wasn't. And through all of that, my wife, my mom, and I took a trip up north to the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. This is right as things were about to spiral out. Now, mind you, I'm experiencing so much success in my life. And I go up there and we're sitting on the trail. We're in our side-by-side or 4-wheelers or whatever, and we're sitting on the trail. And I stopped, I pulled over. And I said, I think that I could probably drink again because it's been so long. I was 21.
Yeah.
I was just a dumb kid. Look at me now. I have my whole life together. I'm married. I'm a good husband. I'm a good father. I own multiple businesses. There's no reason why I wouldn't be able to control drinking now. And there was a piece of me that felt like, how come I can't?
Yeah.
I want to be able to enjoy that. I want to be able to go out to the bar and have one beer and then come home.
Mm-hmm.
I oftentimes say early recovery is challenging, but the further you get from your sobriety date, the harder it can get because you forget about all the pain.
Mm-hmm.
You forget about all the things that happened. You forget what it took to get you there.
Yeah.
I did, right? So here I am up in a trail up north, and I'm talking to my mom now. Where I'm the best manipulator. I can manipulate anybody of anything, and I'm sitting with my mom and my wife, and somehow got them to. I don't know if agree is the right word, but definitely like open to the idea of me drinking again. And my mom's seen me through everything.
Mm-hmm.
My wife never saw me drink, but she knows about it.
Yeah.
And I had convinced them both. We go to a bar that night and I had my first beer. And this is what happened. I drank that beer and I put it down and I didn't drink another one. I got it. Look at what I did.
That's even more dangerous.
I did it. I had my one beer and I put it down. I could be successful doing this stuff. A week goes by, weekend comes around. I had 2 beers and I put it down. Look at me. This is the real deal. I've actually conquered it. I've recovered. I'm cured.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. Within, I think that style of drinking 1-2 beers on the weekend, that might've been a thing for a couple weeks and then went on a complete bender. The first time that I really got drunk, it felt like I woke up and I had the worst hangover. And I thought to myself, I know what cures a hangover.
Not a cheeseburger, huh?
More drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So then I went and drank again. And then it was right back to that. It was like I never stopped. 2 weeks, I was blacked out and ended up back in treatment.
Oh, wow.
I had turned my back on my family. I had turned my back on my job. I didn't care about anything. Now, when I tell you I didn't care about anything, I did not care. I wanted to drink. That's it. That's all I wanted to do.
Those things that you said you turned your back on were all of the reasons that you felt like you were so successful and why you had made it.
100%.
Turn my back on my family, my
100%.
job. Yeah.
And my wife, thank God for her, she took the kids and left and went to her mom's. So they didn't really ever see me like that, which is awesome.
Yeah.
You go from being so successful to waking up one morning, you walk out in the living room and it's empty. And your kids are gone. Your wife's gone. Your phone's blowing up. You got orange juice stains all over the bed because you're trying to drink while you're in bed just to get up out of bed, but you can't. So you just continue to drink till you pass back out. I'm living like a slob. My friends, my family are over. They're worried sick about me, but I keep pushing all of them away. I ain't been to work. I haven't hardly showered. I mean, I'm at this low again in my life and just thinking like, how did I get here? And every time I think about that, I hit that bottle again because I don't want to feel that. I don't want to think about that. So I ended up going back to rehab and that was no easy task, but I ended up going back there. And again, it was the same rehab, the 14-day rehab. I think it was another 12 to 14 days, something like that. And cleaned up. I got my head on straight. And when I got out, it was a whole different ball game. Because there was no, maybe I'll be able to drink again in my mind.
So how that played out, it's not even a thought.
It was black and white now. I knew what I couldn't do. I knew what I had to do. And it was like the igniters went, my flames started shooting, and I was just, it was the best. I don't want anybody to relapse, but that relapse was the best thing that ever happened to me.
This podcast is brought to you by Recovery.com. It's a place where anyone can find mental health or addiction treatment options specific to them. You can filter by location, price, insurance coverage, therapy type, mental health condition, levels of care, and so much more. Recovery.com is the place to find mental health or addiction treatment for anyone, anywhere.
That was the most impactful 2 weeks of my life. Now, mind you, I've had the AA side of things. The 12 steps, I get it. I know the fellowship. I know I've been counseling my whole 10 years that I've been sober at this point. But during that time of drinking, I was sitting in my barn and I coyote hunt over at this farmer's house at this point. And he come over and I was sitting in my barn drinking. He said, "Corey, you okay?" I said, "No, I don't think so. I've been drinking a lot." We get to talking. His boys come over. We get to talking. We didn't have a really great relationship. I mean, at the end of the day, I literally just coyote hunt this guy's farm. Like that's where it kind of stops. So they come over. Then this other guy from down the road from me comes over and he's in my barn and I'm sitting there drinking. And he says, "Corey, do you know anything about God?" And I was like, "Dude, here's the thing. I don't even know you. So for you to come down to my house right now and start preaching at me and trying to get me to, like, I'm not interested. I'm not." But for some reason that put like the seed in the back of my mind. So then I go to rehab, and on the course of going to rehab, and this is, and I should have prefaced by saying all this. So this is before I went to rehab. My buddy takes me to rehab the first time. I didn't really want to go. I go in the front door. He leaves. I walk right out the back door. I'm walking around Brighton, Michigan. I'm an hour away from my house, and a guy pulls up in a van. And you probably shouldn't get into vans, like with strangers. I get that, but also, like, what do I know?
We're
at
not
this
making
point?
good choices at this point.
So I get in there, and I said, "Dude, I just need you to drive me to the liquor store." He drives me to the liquor store, and I said, "Can you buy me a bottle? I'm really going through it right now." And he said, "I will under one condition." And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "I want you to read this." And he pulls out a Bible and hands it to me. This is on the heels of that guy showing up in my barn saying, "Do you want?" And so I'm taking this Bible, like, whatever, that's cool, fine. So I go get the bottle. Now I'm drinking with this guy who just gave me this Bible. I need a ride back home. And instead of the 200 contacts in my phone that I could have called that would have came pick me up, no question, I call the farmer. I don't even know this dude, but I call the farmer for some reason. He's at work. He gets some like probation thing because he walked out on work to drive all the way 45 minutes to come pick me up. He took me back to the farm. I woke up the next morning in the guest room at the farm. How in the world did I get here? I got a Bible in my hand. I'm still drunk, and I'm in the guest room of this guy's farmhouse that I just
so many
deer
thoughts
hunt.
going through my head.
This is who I decided to call. It's unbelievable. So I continued to drink. It doesn't get any better. That's when I went back to rehab, and I kept in touch with the farmer during rehab because he had let me stay at his house, and that was great. But I still had this Bible, and I would look through it, and I'd call him and I'd say, "Hey, Tim, how you doing?" He said, "You read your Bible?" And I said, "No, because I'm opening up this Bible and it's thee, thou art, them." And I'm like, dude, I can't, I'm trying to not be drunk. I can't read this wrote in whatever medieval times it was.
It's discouraging at times.
I can't, I don't even understand it. I can't, my eyes are trying to focus. And so I go back home. I get out of rehab. I didn't really think too much about the whole faith component, but I get out of rehab. I go back home, get back with my family, get back, miss my kids, just trying to get life kind of balanced out, get back to work. My board was excellent and just showing me a lot of grace. So everything, I didn't really experience any crazy consequences, which is wild because I did a lot of stupid things in that 2 weeks. So I get home. And I'm with my wife, I'm with my kids, and that pastor shows back up at my house. And here he goes talking about God again. I talked to Britt, and Britt's not, neither one of us are very faith oriented at this point in our lives. And I'm thinking maybe there's something to this whole faith thing. She had a good experience, interesting spiritual experience while I was in rehab, but I'm like, maybe there's something to this whole faith thing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to this 12-step meeting. I'll be back in an hour and a half or so. So I leave my house and I'm driving down the road. I'm probably a quarter mile away from my house. And I turn on what is our 100.7. It's country music. I turn on country music in my truck and it's playing gospel. And I'm like, I flip back my radio. I turn it back to 100.7. And on the screen, it reads WITL country music, but it's playing worship music. And I'm like, this is so weird. So I call my wife, I FaceTime her. She's at home. And I said, Britt, go out to your Jeep, turn your Jeep on, turn on 100.7. I'm a quarter mile away from you. I need to understand what's going on with your Jeep. And so I'm FaceTiming her. I hear her turn her Jeep on. She turns it to 100.7. She's got Luke Bryan playing. I have gospel music playing. We are a quarter mile away on the exact same channel. It scared the crap out of me. I turned my radio off. I did not turn it back on. I drove all the way to that meeting and I sat there, probably didn't hear anything that anybody has to say because I was freaked out. I called the farmer when I got done. I said, I don't know what's going on, but don't you have these little Bible study things or whatever?
Yeah.
He says, yep. I said, I'd like to go to one of them if you don't mind.
I think someone's trying to reach me.
I think God's trying to get my attention right now. And that was when I introduced this concept of God into my life. And I won't go off on a tangent, but I will tell you that if there is not a faith for me, that was the missing piece. Faith in something other than myself. Now, for me, that's God. For me, I'm starting to build this relationship with Jesus that I believe has impacted me, has impacted my wife and our family to a way and a degree that there's no meeting, no person, no place that could do that. That's my story, but I do believe that some level of a spiritual foundation in a recovery program is so instrumental. So that's what I say. That success that I found in recovery for 9 years or whatever it was, that was one of the worst things for me. That success completely burned me out. And thank God that it happened because that 2 weeks was instrumental in who I am today. But yeah, that's kind of, the long story short of how I got at least to these past couple of years that I've been living. Yeah.
And it sounds like a huge part of that 2 weeks of going back there was kind of straying away from that recovery community. Like you're still in it and you feel that success. So it feels like everything's okay. But the importance of like maintaining that community is really vital for people's sobriety.
So now I go to a couple meetings, but it's not as often as maybe I'd always like. But my church fellowship is mandatory. We have 2 Bible studies a week in church on Sunday, and I don't miss them for nothing. I don't care what your fellowship is. I don't care where you go or what you do. You want to go to AA, NA, tons of different recovery options out there. I don't care where it is. But I do believe it's got to be something. So a fellowship of some sort, a community of some sort. I think as humans, we want that. We need to feel a part.
Yes. And you've built like a huge online community too, where people are able to watch you, listen to you, and learn. I love the way that you do compare and contrast. You make the experiences that people are going through kind of click for people sometimes. You know what I mean? Like you can sit there and you can defend the actions because it's really hard to internally look. But when someone kind of hands you a metaphor, it's like, these are all poison. Consuming this amount of anything is just extremely harmful. I think your social media does a really good job of building communication or community, but also just kind of spilling out some of the facts and like the hard truths that alcohol and drugs have placed on people's lives.
Yeah. Social media came around about a year ago, just under a year ago is when I first started like wanting to try it. And because I knew there was a way to engage people. I just didn't know what it looked like. I think the piece that people, at least for me, I don't know how other influencers feel, but the following is a double-edged sword. So we've been pretty successful to create a pretty good following on all 3, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all 3 channels within under a year. I think we're up near 600,000 or 700,000, which is pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. But that's not as awesome as maybe people always think it is. There's a lot of engagement, sure, both negative and positive. If you're just an average person trying to make a difference on social media, the key is trying to figure out virality. When you can go viral, that's how you create a presence and that's how you engage people and create following. Well, to go viral, you have to do a certain thing. You have to do a format that creates that viral concept. You can't really stray too far away from that. So if most of my videos are getting between 100,000 and 1 million views, and I just want to go talk about what's really going on with me, it might get 10,000. So it's a double-edged sword. It's not as real as I always want it to be because I have to figure out how to make these messages in a viral way that almost sometimes distracts from what I'm really trying to say.
I feel like that pendulum, like it starts though, because you get that popularity because you were open and honest and vulnerable. But not, you're saying like sometimes you can't get too vulnerable. You can't like really have that time you just let yourself because you have to find that balance.
So like dumping alcohol out.
Yeah.
That's where I found a majority of the viral factor because that's what pisses everybody off. So now I have to figure out how to get my message across at the same time, dump out alcohol. Here's the thing, to be quite honest, I don't really like dumping alcohol out as much as anybody else. I don't like the idea of having alcohol at my house, to be quite frank with you, let alone dumping it out. It still is like, it's not like, this is so cool, I just love wasting stuff. No, but like it gets people's attention and it's brought that following up to where I can get the message. I have thousands of DMs of people that want help. I can't handle them all. We opened a coaching program and it got too overwhelming because it's just too many people all over the world. I mean, I had no idea. We didn't even have the infrastructure to be able to handle that. Wow. It's like part of me wants to keep going, like keep running all these viral posts. And part of me is like, screw it. Yeah. Part of me is like, you know what? I don't care about views anymore. Let me just be real. Yeah. And if it catches, it catches. And if it doesn't, then let it go.
So what would you put on there? What would you put on your socials?
I'd remove the distractions. Yeah. Because I think it takes away from the message. The second piece of that is talking about recovery is great, but showing more of my life and showing more of my family and showing more of what life can look like, I think is a huge component because right now, the amount of messages I get, are you even real? I want you to know that I'm real. Like, that's crazy that you even need to ask me, like, am I real? Like, what am I AI generated? Or like, well, I don't post,
show me all 5 fingers.
I post stories that have like me and my kid, you know what I mean? Like, or my wife. But I think that there's a big piece of like seeing people like real time, like what they're doing in their life and how they're handling situations and being more vulnerable about problems that I'm facing, how I'm getting through it.
What kind of inspired you to take that route in the first place?
I have no clue.
Yeah. You're just like, I'm gonna get on here and share.
I tend to like sink my teeth in and not let go. Okay. And I think sometimes it's a really good thing. I think my wife would think so too. I think she also is like, you're a pain in the ass. Corey.
Sometimes it depends where it's directed though.
Well, because there's no off switch.
Yeah.
Because that's just the nature of like, I think success in general, especially in early creation of any sort of business or whatever it is that you're trying to do, takes so much of your time. It takes so much energy. It's not an 8 to 5 job.
Right.
I don't know. I think with social media, it was like, I think I can get a very broad reach. I think I can tell my story at a bigger platform. I would feel successful if I could make some viral videos, create some good momentum towards like people hearing my story, people getting help. It's interesting as you grow, I think age and grow in your recovery and try to, I went down this materialistic look at me road in my life. Yeah. And sometimes that social media kind of feels like the same thing. Like I'm not here so you can look at me. I'm not here to be famous. I don't want that. And so sometimes like that, I think that inner part of me that's like, because it can get to your head.
Figure out how to stay grounded.
And I think we just need to figure out like what it is that we want, and they could change. It can evolve. Yep. That's kind of where I'm at right now, is just trying to, what do I want for the next 5 years of my life?
Yeah. Do what makes you happy. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. In sobriety, you've been sober now for 13 hours sober for okay.
Outside of that
we got a little hiccup, but it looks so different through the years. Like you had said that previous time, like you gained all that success and we had a little reset here, but through your sobriety, those first, that first year, as opposed to like year 5 and then year 10, what does that look like for you? And the differences kind of with like the relationships, but also just with yourself.
We mature. We just don't get, I guess, we have a puppy at home right now. You're kind of like a little puppy where you're kind of like wobbling every time you walk because you can't quite figure out how to do it. You're still trying to figure out how to walk, let alone look at my environment, let alone like, I got this person who cares about me now. That's weird. Like, who are you and why are you love me so much?
We're just assessing things differently.
Yeah, everything's so weird. But as you grow, you start to dial it in a little bit. You start to find your home. You find your circle. You find your home group meetings, you find your base, for lack of better words. You mature as a person, you mature in your recovery. You become more stable, I think. But also, I think it's a balancing act between, I'm starting to figure this thing out, but I'm only figuring it out because I'm doing X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Because I think the problem is, as we also mature, we start to think, well, now that I'm here, I don't need this. Now that I get here, I don't need this. Well, no, it's this, this, and this that got me here. I need to maintain doing those
I need it
things
differently now, but
exactly. So maybe I don't go to 6 meetings a day because I have kids and I can't do that anymore, but I still need to go to meetings. I can't just stop. Whatever the case may be. So I think there's a balancing act between remembering where we came from, remembering that last drink, that last drug, but also incorporating like real life things, because as we mature in our recovery and in our life, we gain more responsibilities, kids, families, homes. We got to go mow our yard and like go
make my husband do that. So
paint and like fix stuff. When pipes bust, we have to like fix them and like, so, and there's not like, you don't get a, like a mulligan because you're in recovery. It's not like your grass.
That's a good way of putting it.
You know what I mean? It's not like your grass grows half the speed as others. Because
the world doesn't slow down and give you gentle hands because you've had some big feelings before and are still working through it. Like it's at the same pace for everyone else and it's just going to keep on coming. So you got to keep on working at developing those tools.
Yeah, 100%. I tell people who are in our program all the time, because I'll show up to work and they'll be like, Corey, blah, 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 and I want to go do this. I got a car and I want to blah. And I'm like, yo, slow down. I wish you guys could just see yourselves in 10 years, because you would be begging for this part of your life back sometimes. Like you get to just go hang out and go to meetings every day and like just enjoy that like slow motion life. Like there is going to come a point in your life where you can't do that anymore.
Right.
So soak it up while you can. This is a process for a reason. Imagine if we got out of rehab and all of a sudden life hit. Like it would be different. So we need to take our time and we need to be patient with ourselves and show ourselves some grace, show other people grace, figure out that balance between recovery is my priority. It's my entire life. Now I have a life. I need to implement that with my recovery. Now I'm balancing and now I have, so I think as we age in recovery and just age as people, we start to figure out that balance, and it looks probably different for every single person.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes in the beginning, what I hear from people is that's like the big time to really like concentrate on yourself, because this is really about you and it's not about those external things.
Yeah.
It's about making sure that you're curating the future that you want, and the steps that steps that you make are moving you towards those goals. Yep. And it doesn't just happen in one leap. Like even now, I realize, or I get these things or thoughts from therapy sessions. I'm like, holy crap, I didn't even think that was a problem for me. And the more work we do, I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's open up this door.
Yeah.
Let's open up this door.
Yep.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's a lot, but it's a continuous thing though. Like there's not some ending point. It is a balance of like constantly growing while being comfortable sitting where you are.
Oh, it's the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sitting is hard.
And I get paid to sit, but I also get to talk while I'm doing it. So it's like a good balance.
My wife and I are trying to figure out how to take a day and relax right now.
And not take a day to clean the house. Take a day to run errands. I do that too. And then I call myself lazy in therapy. And she's like, well, what do you mean you're lazy? I was like, well, I take a day off and I just like sit there. She's like, what do you mean you sit there? Go through the day. I'm like, oh my God, I did not sit there.
No,
I did not sit there whatsoever. Yeah. Taking those minutes.
I told Britt, we were talking about actually yesterday, because we were like, we should take, obviously the Sabbath day, what we're referring to. And we should really like start to practice that, because I've heard really great things and we don't do it. And she's like, well, that sounds really good, but we're able to like go grocery shopping, right? Like that's not too much. And I'm like, I guess you could probably
make your own rules.
This is for us to figure out, like resting should be resting. If grocery shopping, then going out and taking care of the chickens, and then going and doing this and doing all these and gardening and that doesn't seem like much of a rest to me. I think that it's time to reflect and reset our brain. And I heard somebody talking the other day about turning your phone off for a day.
Yeah.
Turn your phone off for a day, go off the grid and just relax and be with your family and enjoy their time. And you'd be surprised at how much that can reset your brain. So we haven't started yet, but I think we're going to start trying to figure that out. That's awesome.
A good first step, buying an alarm clock as opposed to a cell phone. I tell you, leave your phones downstairs. Don't bring them up in the rooms. I heard it's great. I don't personally do it, but
somebody told me it was awesome.
Somebody told me this is a really good idea. I can't personally do it because I need like to listen to my podcast as I fall asleep. So for those people that are scrolling, for people that are listening, for anybody that might be struggling and doesn't know how to take that first step, what is a piece of advice you would give them?
we don't want people to know that we're alcoholics. So we try to keep it a secret. So if I go out and I look for help, if I go to counseling, if I go to rehab, then people are going to know. What we don't realize is that all those people that we're worried about judging us, they already know that we have a problem. We're not fooling anybody. In fact, they would probably be so supportive of that first step because secretly they've probably been waiting for you to take that first step. So I think that trying to, and more right now with all the creators and all the different platforms that we have, like sobriety is becoming more and more like trendy, especially through like the younger generations. You're seeing a lot more people engaged in like fitness, health and fitness, wellness, and removing like toxic crap out of their life. And so I think like if you're struggling out there, you don't even know where to begin. You don't have to know where to begin. That's why you have your company. That's why you guys created, so that you have somebody who does know where you can start.
Recovery.com is the kickoff. Like we did that for you.
Exactly.
It's just there. Go there, find it.
But sometimes we feel like I gotta know how to do this. No, you shouldn't have. I mean, go find somebody who does know how to do it. When I didn't know how to stay sober, I just put myself around people that did know. And then I'll figure it out from there.
Osmosis.
Yeah, we don't just go up to a basketball hoop and just start draining threes. Like we got to start and lay up and figure out, how does this ball even fit in that thing? And then as we go, like we start figuring out different ways and different shots and whatnot. But I think the first step is just understanding this might not be good for me. And as long as you're thinking on that track, like that's okay. Like that can be your first step, is just thinking this might not be good for me. I've talked to people who have been, I drink 10 beers a day, Corey. I think it's bad. Well, I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to tell you if it's good or bad. I have my thoughts. Obviously, 10 beers a day doesn't seem super healthy, but
on that,
we all have different health goals, I suppose. I want to figure out how to quit drinking. All right, well, why don't tomorrow you drink 9 beers? If you think 10's too much, drink 9. And if you think that's too much, drink 8. And start just kind of scaling back. I mean, you don't have, it's not an all or nothing thing. It doesn't need to be. You can just start to remove things slowly out of your life that are not helping you. It doesn't even just need to be alcohol or drugs. It can be anything that is not creating your life to be better. Any toxic, if it's a relationship, it can be a relationship with a human. It can be a relationship with alcohol. It can be, all these different things. If it's not working in your life, and if it's not bringing you joy, if it's not bringing you happiness, then get rid of it. Life is too short to be sitting around miserable and to be controlled by a person or a drink or a drug. So I would think that there are tons of companies out there. Get in touch with somebody, message somebody. There's a way and a person, phone number that you can contact. Get in touch with someone and see what that first step might look like.
Because on the other side of those steps, a lot of success, a lot of happiness, a lot of joy, successful relationships, happy families. So much that people didn't even consider that could be on the other side of that. And I appreciate you coming here and sharing your story, sharing your wisdom and insight. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
And thank you guys for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.